Reinsma. And I should say the late Brent Reinsma. Brent and I were close, our families were close growing up. There's a weird connection, I wouldn't call it weird, but there's a very godly connection with the Reinsma family and the DeBoer family. The day after I got the head coaching job at Seattle Christian, one day after, Brent was killed only a few miles from my home, falling off a roof, in a terrible accident. And it has forever connected my coaching world with the Reinsmas. Not only was he a great teammate, but he's somebody that we remembered that year. In fact, before the Stilichum game, Gary Lucerbar's here. That very first year, Karen came in and talked with our team, and there's been a connection with that family ever since, and that of course was really, really special. From that point, I played baseball at Northwestern for 1 year, but I always had planned to be a basketball coach. The night we won the state title, I shared it with my parents. I said, hey, Mom and Dad, someday I want to take a team back here. It's going to be awesome. I want to coach and come back and coach a team that goes to the state tournament. This past year I'm 52 years old. This past year was my 50th state 1A basketball tournament, so I've only missed 2 in my lifetime. And to be able to be there as a team member and as a coach was certainly very, very special. So anyway, after being at Northwestern, I transferred back to Seattle Pacific because I wanted to live in the Pacific Northwest, and that's where I had the opportunity to work with Mike Downs. There's a connection. Mike Downs' wife, our late wife Jan, and my sister were roommates in college. And so it gave me a little bit of an in to beg and plead with Mike to please let me come on board and help out, and had an opportunity to work with Mike for 5 years. Mike, to this day, 30-some years into coaching, I have never met, yet to this day, a man who can teach the details and the nuances of the game in a practice like you could. You are an amazing teacher of the game, well deserving of being in the Hall of Fame, but somebody who mentored me and taught me the importance of the details of the game and to learn to appreciate the game. So thank you for that. Early on in coaching, I started in 1989 after being with Bellevue Christian for 5 years. An athletic director named Dave Peterson, Dave is here, and a principal named Judy Jennings, Judy is here. For whatever reason, I'm still wondering, it had to be a God thing, took a complete gamble on a 24-year-old, brash, arrogant kid with a perfectly well-manicured mullet. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. And thought that this is the guy that needs to be in charge of our program. But it went deeper than that. It went deeper than that because for those few years after, as I grew as a coach, the thing that stands out to me is they walked beside me. As administrators, they walked beside me, and that was really, really special because there were times when we made, as coaches, great decisions. There was times when we made really bad decisions. There was times when great things happened for the Seattle Christian community. There was times that I embarrassed the Seattle Christian community. But through all of that, those two stood by my side and believed in me because they saw something, and this is something that we all can learn. They saw me for what I could become, not just for who I was. And they stood beside me. Even when I didn't believe in myself, they stood beside me. And to the two of you for taking that chance, I thank you for that. I would not be standing here without, obviously, the big gamble you guys did. So, thank you. Also, early on, I need to recognize a family. The Lindman family is here. Not 24 hours, this is a true story, not 24 hours after getting the job, and in the midst of mourning the death of my friend Brent, the Lindman family had already invited me to go out to a Mexican restaurant with them, and then a couple days later to their home, and I became a member kind of the Lindman family, this young single guy with, not a whole lot of places to go, living away from home, and you took me in for a lot of years. And to you guys, I tip my hat and I thank you because, Lloyd Dean actually was the voice of Seattle Christian. When you called him on the phone, she was the lady that would answer the phone, so like on the voice messages and all that. And she just recently retired and had the opportunity to speak at that. And the thing that I brought up is that Lloyd Dean was the hands and feet of Jesus. All right, for Seattle Christian. Well, Lloyd Dean and Dwayne, you guys were the hands and feet of Jesus for me too. And I thank you for taking me under your wing and nurturing me at a time that I really, really needed it. There's a few coaches that are here from a long time back that really encouraged me through this time. And when I was really, really young and not really knowing what I was doing, I thought I knew what I was doing. Now I look back and go, wow, I really didn't know what I was doing. But guys like, and I already mentioned Mike Downs' name, but Gary Woosterbar, who's still at Stillicum, guys like Dan Fountain, who came here tonight from Eatonville, Rob Ridenour, who was up at Blaine, and our teams went to a lot of different summer stuff together. Brian Peterson, who had left Seattle Christian and who was at Kings, and those guys were a very important part of my development, and I want to thank you for that. There's a couple of events that happened through my 19 years at Seattle Christian I just want to touch on briefly that really helped shape me as a coach. One, and this is the first time I get to say this in person to this guy, so where's Mark Morris? Mark, where are you? All right. So I have never told Mark this in person. So back in the mid-90s, the thing was to go to NBC Teen Camp. You go to NBC Teen Camp, and it was great. And part of NBC Teen Camp is the kids would go to evening programs, and the coaches would all huddle up in this upper room, and you would get all these golden nuggets, right? The golden nuggets were that one out-of-bounds player, that one special defense, or that one little something that you could get, you could write down, and each guy would get up in front, and they would, write it up on the whiteboard, and everyone would get excited, and you would take that one or two things back with you, right? So we all get up there, and people are taking their turns doing that, and Mark Morris gets up, and I don't even know, Mark, if you remember this, but I certainly do. He got up there, no pen, looked at us, and told us why he coached. He challenged us to think about the reason why we really coach. And it really touched me that night, because he said he coached for a completely different reason. He coached because he wanted to invest in the lives of kids. And he challenged us to think about that night. And I went home and I thought about, why is it that I truly coach? I didn't like all the answers. But I made a commitment that night that I needed to be a little bit different. Not drastically, but I needed to care a little bit more. I needed to go a little bit deeper. And three-dimensional coaching talks about, going to the 3 levels of coaching and really caring about the spirit and the heart and the soul of kids. And that's where Mark was at, and I wanted a piece of that. It was something different. So Mark, thank you for that. It challenged me to be different, and I truly appreciate that. The second event happened in the year 2000. My wife and I lost our baby girl, Jordan. Yeah, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, sorry. Jordan lived for 10 days and died in my arms. And she was a very special little girl, had a lot of needs, but it was our first time as parents. And when you coach, you think you know parents' love for your kids, but then you lose a child and you really know what a parent's love for their kids are. You feel it so deeply. And it changed me as a coach because it gave me a realization, wow, that's why they go so psycho. That's why they go so crazy. They care so much. They care so deeply. I hadn't felt that before. But when you experience that with your child, it's amazing. It's a challenging thing, and it changed me. And those 2 events were obviously altering for me. My experience at Seattle Christian ended in 2008, and I moved up to Linden with my family with absolutely no intent to be a coach. We were working on our marriage. Coaching can be very hard in a marriage, and I committed to Jill and to the boys that, hey, look, we're not gonna do that for a while. Then came the call from Coach DeHaan. Coach DeHaan was diagnosed with cancer and said, hey, look, here's the deal. I'd like to invite you to be part of our program for a year. You have the opportunity to coach with Kelly Dykstra. You have the opportunity to coach with your niece, Leanne. They're part of the staff, and I'd love you to come alongside and do that. I looked at my wife and I said, well, that didn't last very long, did it? What do you think? And in her great support, she says, maybe that's part of the reason God called us up to Linden. Why don't you do it? So I had the opportunity to coach with Kurt for a year. And Kurt, I also want to highlight and thank you for your persistence. I did not want to coach at Linden Christian. I can be honest with all of you. That was not part of the plan. First of all, for my commitment to my family, but second of all, homeboy come home does not necessarily make a recipe for great things, and that wasn't something that I was overly interested in. And Kurt asked, and then Kurt asked again, and then when we were coming back from the state tournament right before we left, he asked again. We're driving back. My wife looks at me and says, I think we need to pray about this. I looked at her, who are you and what did you do with my wife? I said, honey, I don't want to do that. She goes, yeah, we need to pray about it. And obviously through a long set of circumstances, we ended up coaching, and it's been an amazing experience to be at Linden Christian. And part of that 7 years is the Northwest Conference. I love being in the Northwest Conference and coaching there. And to the there's a lot of coaches from the NWC here tonight, and I want to tell you guys how much I appreciate coaching with all of you. And I know Brian and Dave feel the same way. It is special. Not only because we get to beat each other's heads in on a nightly basis, but the fact that we can do it and be friends after is pretty cool. And I just want to thank you guys for your friendship. I want to thank you guys for being the special men that you are and challenging our staff on a nightly basis. It's pretty cool. Throughout your coaching career, you kind of make some special contacts, right? And there's a couple guys here. Name and Suit cannot be here, but guys like Andy Sears and Rick Skeen, I know that are here tonight. If there's such thing as dude soulmates, those guys are kind of the dude soulmates in my life. They're the guys that you can call and have long conversations and talk about hoops and friendships and love for Jesus and what are we doing, and it's great stuff. And so guys, I want to also thank you for your influence in my life. To kind of circle it back and close, the thing that when you have a coaching job at Seattle Christian or Linden Christian or wherever you're at, there's a special brotherhood that happens, and I wrote this down, and there's this family environment that gets created if you're all about the right things. So what I want to do is to start at this part of the whole family aspect, which I think is crucial. If anybody who has been an assistant coach with me at either Seattle Christian or Linden Christian, could you guys stand for a second? Actually, you're going to stand for a little bit longer than a second, but if you've coached with me, if you can stand. Got to do it. My night, you got to do it. Then one night. Okay. You've heard the phrase, it takes a village. I use it often. These are the village. These guys are the ones who have honestly carried me throughout my career. Guys that I love deeply. Guys that we've gone through great times and horrible times. We've gone through amazing experiences and hard experiences. But guys that are about the same type of stuff that I strive to be on a daily basis when it comes to coaches. Guys who love kids. Guys who have carried me. Guys who have challenged me. Guys who have taken me behind closed doors and let me have it. Guys who are willing to make me better. And for that, I thank you guys. And you just stay standing for a second. To the parents and to the kids that we have coached collectively. All right, there's a number of those families in this room right now. And I want to make sure, while these guys are standing, that you hear from us. To you players and to your parents and you families, you're why we do what we do. You're why we get up in the morning. You're why we game plan. You're why we as coaches show up and try to push you to greatness. All right, it goes much deeper, like Brian talked about. It goes much deeper than the X's and O's. All right, it's about a brotherhood, and it's about a family, and about us pushing you guys as players to be great. And I wrote down a couple of things that I thought were interesting. Brian talked about the mission statement, which many of you know. But these guys standing up before you are the guys that believe these same things. For the players that have left our program, this is what we dream will happen. On top of being great husbands and fathers, we hope that this will be it. That you will know, regardless of your basketball skill, that you're a child of God and He loves you right where you're at. Number two, that you are deeply loved. Not for ability, but you are valued for who you are, not for what you do. Number three, that you will live by a standard of excellence called upon you by our Lord Jesus to be great husbands, to be great fathers, to be great community members, to be about the stuff that proclaims Christ, which is part of our mission statement. And then fourthly, that you're always part of the basketball family. if you leave with those things